Okay, everyone, welcome back. Sorry again about last week. My computer got stolen from my desk, actually. So, so I'm sorry. It was very last minute, and I just didn't have the time to organize a new computer to give the presentation last week. This, in fact, is going to be the last pronunciation core skills video that we do together. But don't worry, everything is uploaded to YouTube, so if you need to revisit, have a look again, a second time, third time, as many times as you like. These videos are there on our core skills channel, together with the grammar sessions and the vocabulary sessions as well. We are also in the process of doing something quite exciting with pronunciation, so keep your eyes peeled for that over the coming weeks. As soon as we have something to announce in that respect, we will share it with you. But meanwhile, enjoy this. We're going to start with our homework. Now, the homework was 2 weeks ago, so I hope you remember it. It was the initial consonant clusters that we were talking about last week. If you remember, we looked at a number of different consonant clusters: pl, pr, bl, br, and tw. Now, I don't know how you all got on. But let me give you some of my suggestions. Pl, we have place, plight, plain, plop, and pluck. Plop's interesting because plop is an onomatopoeia, meaning a word that sounds like a sound. So they're all pl words. With pr, we have price, prop, prune, and priest. Bl, we have bling, blind, blue, blonde, and bless. With br, we have brain, brew, bright, broken, and bride. And with tw, we have twin, twist, twee, twiddle, and twain. Okay, so there were my suggestions. Of course, it's easy enough to look up in a dictionary, a good old-fashioned paper dictionary, or if you want to, you can look up on an online dictionary as well and get to the same conclusion. But there you go. They were my suggestions for the opening consonant clusters that I gave you for homework 2 weeks ago before my computer was stolen. So this week we're going to be talking about function and intonation. Function and intonation. Again, don't worry if you don't know what those words mean at this point. That's not so important. It's very important that you do understand by the end of our session today. So here's a question. How would you respond to your friend if she told you this news? I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have a baby. There's your friend. Well, maybe when she tells you the news, she might be less pregnant than that. But she tells you the news, I'm going to have a baby. How would you respond? So you've got a number of different responses depending on how your friend told you the news. The way that she tells you the news is absolutely essential to the way that you respond to the news. So, is she like this when she tells you the news, or is she like this when she tells you the news? Clearly, we've got two very different emotions going on. It would be inappropriate to respond to a very distressed woman who says, I'm going to have a baby, and is clearly not happy about it, in the same way that you respond to a woman who's giving you 2 thumbs up and is clearly delighted that she's got a bun in the oven. So, listen to the voice and her voice, and then you will know how to appropriately respond. Now, I got my friend to record her responses. Let me see if you can hear the intonation. Listen to the first one. So, your friend says, I'm going to have a baby. I'm trying not to give the emotion here, but the response is? Really? Okay, let's play it again. Make a bit more volume there. Really? 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 And how about this one? Really? 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 Okay, so we have 2 different responses to the same news, but the word, as you notice, is the same. Really? 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 So in the first one, which is, are you sure? And then the second one, it's, oh, how lovely. When did you find out? The word in both cases is the same. The word is really. But in the first instance, of course, you're giving something which is much more sympathetic.
Really?
And in the second, you're giving one which is much more excited.
Really?
Okay, so, by the way, I just wanted to make a note of that. Look, in the number 2, it says really, question mark, exclamation mark. I wanted to mention this because it comes up a lot. This is called an interrobang. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but it's quite interesting. The symbol is that. I don't know if I even have that on my computer, but normally we just write an exclamation mark and a question mark, or the other way around, and that's called an interrobang. So you're so excited, you give it an interrobang. Now, the language doesn't change, but the intonation does. And that is what language function is, okay? That is language function. Not the word, but the connotation. Okay, the meaning behind the word that you have used and the way that you have used it. In the first case, really has the function of expressing sympathy. Okay, I'm being sympathetic and my tone gives it away. Really? And in the second, really has a function of expressing delight. So it's the same word, it's just said in a different way. The difference between the two is the function of the language. Okay, so just to get technical for a minute, and I'm sorry I don't always do this, but I'm going to read this to you because it's important to be clear about this. What is language function? Language functions refer to the purposes in which we use language to communicate. We use language for a variety of formal and informal purposes, and specific grammatical structures and vocabulary are often used with each language function. Okay, now we'll get into a little bit more detail about that, but there you go. It's the purposes of language in the way that we communicate. Some examples of language functions include comparing, contrasting, sympathy, delight, and persuasion. Depending on the way that you use the words, they might be functions that you're trying to convey in the language that you use. So here's a little task for you. Okay, what is the function of the response here? So I recorded this again with my colleague a little bit earlier. My mouse just isn't responding very well today. I don't know why. I think the battery might be running down. So listen to our little dialogue. This is what we're saying. And then listening to what Jenny says, because Jenny's response is what's important here. Okay, what's the function of the response?
Hi Jenny, how was your presentation this morning?
Not bad.
Okay, I'm going to play it once more, if my mouse allows me to do that. Ready?
Hi Jenny, how was your presentation this morning?
Not bad.
Okay, so Jenny says, not bad. She didn't say it like that, not bad. What does it mean though in the context? Is it number 1, it went well? Is it number 2, it was neither good nor bad? Or was it number 3, I was disappointed? Okay, anyone have a guess? And then I'll give you the answer. Anyone got any thoughts on that? No? No one got an opinion? I've got a few there. Number 1s, number 2s, 1s, 2s, 1s, 2s. No one thinks it was 3. Okay, well, pretty good. It was, in fact, number 1. It went well. Okay, it went well. Not bad, she said. Not bad. So the best answer is more positive. So it went well. It would be wrong to say it was neither good nor bad, because in fact, her tone, the function of the language which she used, implies that, in fact, it was a positive outcome for her. Not bad confuses a lot of learners of English, because in fact, what they see is a negative word, not, and another negative word, bad. But of course, 2 negatives makes a positive. It was not bad, meaning good. Not good, clearly, is bad. All right, how is the film? Not good. Now, there's a cultural context that you need to understand when it comes to language function. Now, I'm going to mention a film that you may or may not be familiar with, Wayne's World. I don't know if anyone remembers this film, Dana Garvey there on the right and Mike Myers there on the left. This was a really culturally significant film from the United States about 25 years ago. I think it was 92. In fact, I know it's 1992. Not my favorite film, but there are some funny scenes in it, especially them singing Bohemian Rhapsody in a car together. Now, in that film, it was the first time I had heard this structure of language. I really like your dress, not. Or, it'll be really good to see her, I don't think. Now, why am I mentioning this structure? Because what we've got here is a perfectly normal sentence, I really like your dress, and then another very short negative affirmation, not. Okay, so in case you didn't understand what I was saying, I don't really like your dress. So it was kind of a way of being funny, if you like, and I will use that loosely because humor is rather subjective. It'll be really good to see her, I don't think. You may still hear people using this structure. It really doesn't bring out a good reaction in me, but you know, like I say, different strokes for different folks. Now, in the past, before Wayne's World, before that fashion of saying not or I don't think, we used sarcasm and we used a sarcastic tone, okay? If you're not sure what sarcasm is, here's a definition. Sarcasm is the use of irony to mock or to convey contempt. And if you're familiar with comedy from the UK, some comedy from the United States, from Australia, a lot of our comedy actually relies on the use of sarcasm. An ironic sense of humor. Again, different countries have different senses of humor. I know that I've lived in different countries and not found their comedy very funny, but again, it's subjective. Our comedy requires an appreciation, to an extent, an appreciation of this sarcastic tone. It's also condemned as the lowest form of wit. Okay, just to be clear what wit is, the capacity for inventive thought and quick understanding. It is a keen intelligence. So in British comedy, and by British comedy I'm going to be fairly broad here, I'm British and a lot of our comedy does require an appreciation of sarcasm, or at least a feeling that sarcasm can be funny. We would consider it rather witty. Okay, so we quite like that, playing with words, for example, or modifying intonation to make something come across as being amusing. So, look, here we've got another example for you, and this is a task for you. I'm going to play it, and you can read it at the same time. So, what you read is what you will hear, and when you finish listening, look at the multiple choice, 1, 2, or 3. I'd like you to choose which one reflects the function of what the speaker is actually saying. Now, when I'm say the speaker, I mean the bit in red, not the bit in black. Okay, so you'll hear it and then give me an answer.
I hear that Mr. Dodd has given us an extra assignment to do over the holidays.
Well, what do you expect?
Again, I'll play that again and then answer again if you don't mind. Send your answer through to the chat.
I hear that Mr. Dodd has given us an extra assignment to do over the holidays.
Well, what do you expect?
Okay, so is it 1, this is normal. Number 2, this is typical of Mr. Dodd. Or number 3, I think you expected this. Let's have a look. 2s, 3s, a 1, 2. Oh, big mix there. Interesting. Okay, thanks for your contributions. Let's see. This is typical of Mr. Dodd. Okay, the best answer here is, well, what do you expect? Brackets, this is exactly what Mr. Dodd does. He's just like this. Okay, let's do another one. What does the speaker mean? Meaning the speaker in red.
We all have to do 30 minutes overtime every day next week.
Says who?
I'll play it again and then decide whether it's 1, 2, or 3.
We all have to do 30 minutes overtime every day next week.
Says who?
Okay, so think about the function used by speaker B. Is it 1, is it 2, or is it 3? Okay, a lot of ones, just 1, 3, 2, okay, bit of a mix. Okay, let's have a look. It's 1. Okay, says who? I've not previously been told this information. Okay, says who? Implication here, I've not previously been told this information. Another one for you.
Can I look at your notes? I missed every lecture this term.
In your dreams.
In your dreams? Let's play it again.
Can I look at your notes? I missed every lecture this term.
In your dreams.
Okay, is it 1, is it 2, or is it 3? There seems to be a consensus about this one. Everyone thinks it's 3? No one thinks anything else? Oh, sorry. Ah, apologies. Yes, there's no way I'm sharing my notes with you is the answer. Absolutely, in your dreams. Again, when I talk about cultural context, I'm not just talking about Wayne's World and the way that they basically killed sarcasm. It's this idea, expressions like in your dreams really do say a great deal. And it's not just saying the words. You do need to consider the way that you're delivering the line. So it does need to come across in a way which sounds like you know what you're using this term for. Why am I saying in your dreams? What does it mean? It's just another way of saying no way. Okay? In this context, the function of the language in your dreams, there's no way I'm sharing my notes with you. It will be a cold day in hell before that happens. Okay, so moving on. What I'd like you to do, read these aloud to yourselves. Don't worry, it's not a trick. Have a look at them and just read them aloud. Now you notice the only real difference is the fact that the first sentence starts with the auxiliary verb to be, are you, and then the other we have an inversion, you are, you're going to eat that. Okay, so what you'll see a lot in English, and I know that it happens in other languages, is simply modifying your intonation, meaning the pattern or the sound of your speech. You can make a question out of a statement. You're going to eat that. The statement with no question mark is a statement. So I sometimes say it to my child, hey, you're going to eat that, you took it, you're going to eat that. That's a statement, it's not a question. I'm not asking anything. But here, these are both questions. They end in question marks. They're both questions, so the intonation will go up. So where's the emphasis when we do this intonation, this questioning intonation? Well, that kind of depends. You're going to eat that. Eat, emphasizing in the first one, and in the second one, I'm going to emphasize that. So in the first sentence, that, eat, and in the second sentence, that. So how does that affect the way that you interpret the words that the person is saying to you? How does that affect, if you like, the understanding, the function, the comprehension of what has been said? So, are you going to eat that? So if I'm expressing disbelief and I'm focusing on the act of eating, are you going to eat that? Are you going to eat that? Disbelief, I can't believe it. That's unbelievable. So eat, the focus is on the action. But are you going to eat that? Revulsion, disgust, I'm focusing on the object that is going to be eaten. Now, I needed to be culturally sensitive. I didn't want to upset anyone. That, if anyone doesn't know, is a haggis. If anyone's been to Scotland or lives in Scotland, they will know that a haggis is a sheep's stomach and it's filled with mushed up, minced other bits of intestine and guts and stuff. I have to tell you, it's really quite nice. You don't need to eat it if you don't want to, but that is a haggis. But you might look at a haggis on somebody's plate and go, oh, you're going to eat that? How disgusting. And are you going to eat that? Emphasis on the verb. So again, the way that you're using the language, the intonation affects the function. Well, how does the person listening interpret what they have heard from you? Now, you will remember a few weeks ago, we did a session on bad habits. One of the bad habits I mentioned to you was uptalk. Uptalk, if you remember, is that way that a lot of people, especially Australians, but not only Australians, go up in the middle of a sentence and at the end of a sentence, even though the sentence isn't a question, and they do that all the time. Okay, it's a horrible habit, but if you live in Australia, you might pick it up. But even, as I say, in other countries and cultures too. The uptalk is confusing because you're not sure if the person is in fact asking a question or not. Okay, do you want to go out? Is a question. We went out is a statement. But if you're up talking all the time, it all sounds the same. Now, this is especially important for any of you who are taking a test with a computer. But even if you're taking a test without a computer and with an actual interlocutor, somebody sitting in front of you, a tester, it is important that you know that the uptalk does count against you. It doesn't sound good, and it can confuse. If you're going up all the time, forming what sounds like questions when they're really statements, that's not a great thing. You do need to make sure that what you're doing is being clear and you're talking using your intonation in the right way. We go up in a sentence when we want to form a question. We go down when it's a declarative statement. Now, we're moving straight along to question tags. Now, I know that we talked about question tags before. Question tags are those ones where you've got the sort of mini addition, the mini extra clause on the end. So the statement, you don't believe that, okay, I'm going to make it into a question. Do you? I'm going to add 2 words, do you. Notice the repetition of the auxiliary don't becomes do. So the negative becomes a positive. She's working for the opposition statement. Isn't she? Question. So you don't believe that, do you? Up. She's working for the opposition. Isn't she? Question. The job won't be finished on time. Will it? Question. The intonation when you're asking a genuine question in a question tag goes up. But what goes up is the final bit. That's mini clause on the end with the auxiliary verb. Do, is, will, are, isn't, shan't, and so on. Let's go, shall we? Okay. So that idea of adding the question tag makes it sound, I must say, a lot more natural. We use them naturally all the time in English discourse. Remembering that we can use it for rhetorical questions. We can use it in all sorts of ways, but we do use them a lot. So question tags, it's important that you can interpret them as a listener, but it is equally important that you are able to give voice to them as a speaker. So all of these have rising intonation. Now, they're all questions, they're all rising intonation. What about the function? What's the function in each one? So, you don't believe that, do you? Up. Function is, I cannot believe that you believe that. Okay, you don't believe that, do you? Okay, One Direction are getting back together. You don't believe that, do you? She's working for the opposition, isn't she? Now, what's the function? I think she's working for the opposition. I think she's working for the opposition. That's my belief. Okay? Okay. And the job won't be finished on time, will it? I do not think the job will be finished. Okay? So, what you do need to think about is what it is that you're trying to convey when you use the words that you use when you're using question tags. Notice that question tags can also be affirmative statements, and so the intonation goes down. Now, up intonation, I think a lot of people don't really have a problem with it. They like it so much, they like to do it all the time, and then you have up talk. Down intonation for something that ends in a question mark can be a little bit unnatural. So the sentence is, Canberra is the capital of Australia, isn't it? And down goes the intonation. You won't need that, will you? Intonation goes down. Donald Trump wears long ties, doesn't he? Intonation goes down. These are all declarations, and I'm not really asking a question. Downward intonation, what's the function? Well, Canberra's the capital of Australia, isn't it? The function, I know that it's the capital. You won't need that, will you? Function, I can see that you do not need it. And Donald Trump wears long ties, doesn't he? Intonation goes down. I want you to agree that his ties are very long. Okay, so I'm using question tags, but it can be misleading because you see question tag, questions go up. These are examples of where the intonation goes down. Okay, it's misleading in the same way that saying present perfect is misleading, because present perfect generally refers to the past. There you go, there's Donald Trump with a ridiculously long tie. Now, here's a task for you. What does the speaker mean? Notice these aren't little dialogues. What does the speaker mean? If I get my mouse working again, I'm going to play it, and then I want you to decide if it's 1 or if it's 2, and you can share your answers with the chat board, okay? This mouse drives me mad.
You don't remember me, do you?
Okay, again.
You don't remember me, do you?
So is it 1 or is it 2? Well, got a mixture of responses here. Is the intonation up or is the intonation down?
You don't remember me, do you?
If the intonation is down, it's not a question, is it? So the answer, number 1, you have no idea who I am. Okay, that's terrible. I'm awful like this, especially as a teacher. You try your hardest on the first day to remember everybody's names, but on subsequent classes, it's then too late. And you feel that you should know the students' names, and then you simply can't remember, and it's very embarrassing when the student says, you don't remember me, do you? Meaning, it's clear to me that you have no idea who I am. Okay, intonation down, it's a declaration, it's not a question. What about this one? Okay, I'm going to play it, don't worry. When I've played it, then give me your answers.
Getting 90% of this test isn't too hard, is it?
I know it was quick, I'm going to play it again, don't worry.
Getting 90% of this test isn't too hard, is it?
Now think, was that up or down intonation? Is it 1? Is it 2? Okay, you've done very well. Yeah, it's number 1. You believe that this test is easy, and so do I. Okay, I think it's easy. You think it's easy. We both think it's easy. I just need reaffirmation of what I'm saying about this particular test. It's not too hard. 90% shouldn't be a problem. Okay, let's do this one.
House prices are up this quarter, aren't they?
I'll play it again, don't worry.
House prices are up this quarter, aren't they?
So is it 1 or is it 2? Got no divergence. Everyone's, oh, there you go, got a couple of 1s there. I'm going to play once more, everyone. I'm going to play it once more. Listen to the intonation.
House prices are up this quarter, aren't they?
Aren't they? Intonation goes down. I'm trying to affirm something that I know. So, 2. It's my understanding that house prices are going up. Okay? My intonation is down. I believe that I'm right. I just need you to agree with me effectively. So, there you go. Let's do one more.
I don't look fat in this, do I? I don't look fat in this, do I?
So, is it 1 or is it 2? Does anyone think that that's, I've got a lot of 2s, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, was the intonation up or was the intonation down? Listen one more time.
I don't look fat in this, do I?
Intonation definitely up. So the answer would be number 2. I would like reassurance about my appearance in this outfit. Okay. Now I had to get a boy to do that one. I didn't want to ask a lady because that's indelicate. But we do often get asked this question by our wives, girlfriends, partners, etc. Do I look good in this? Do I look fat in this? And do I look thin? And so on. They just want reassurance. Of course, darling, you look amazing. Okay, so I would like reassurance about my appearance in this outfit. Okay, so it was a genuine question and I need you to reassure me. Okay, it would be almost not arrogant to say, I don't look fat in this, do I? Strange thing to say in the first place. I'm trying it on, I'm in the store, you're in the store with me, I'm looking in the mirror, but I need somebody else's opinion. Okay, so genuine question. All right, excellent. So there you go. Now for homework, now I know that I'm not going to see you. I'm about to say bye-bye, but for the homework, what I'd like you to do is this. How many different ways can you use the following words with different functions? Okay, so let me explain what I mean. Now, I've already done really. I did really when the person gave you the news that she was pregnant. Okay, really, 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 really. There are many different ways I can use my intonation. I can change my intonation to convey a different idea about the way I feel about a different subject. Okay, the same is true for all of these. No, no, no. 3 different ways of saying no in response to different stimuli. What I'd like you to do is think about what stimulus or what lead-in could you provide that would mean you would definitely answer this in a different way. Okay, so would you like an extra ball of ice cream? No. Okay. I'm marrying Prince William. No. Okay, so depending on what you're saying, you're going to set it up in a different way. But the more mini scenarios you have, the more different varieties you'll have for each of these response words. So the word on its own, really, no, right, whatever, nice, and thanks. Okay, now remember what I said about sarcasm. That does have a lot to do with the way that we speak. While I was preparing this session today, I was thinking about how hard it can be to convey humor. And I'm not going to try to make jokes or anything like that. But for those of you who are preparing for exams, especially for those of you who are preparing for exams in order to migrate, it is important that you start to understand people interact in different ways, and the way that they use language really does have an impact on how you respond in a particular way. So not just sarcasm and not just irony, but also the idea of I'm being joking, or I'm being funny, or I'm being witty, or I'm being caring. It is important that you start to attune your ear, culturally speaking, to what it is that you hear people saying. Because if you have, if you like, a tin ear to the way that people interact, it can cause embarrassment, it can cause problems. It is something to be aware of, especially when you're living in an English-speaking environment all the time. Something more difficult to do when you're, if you like, detached from that. So if you're currently in India or Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or wherever, and you haven't lived in Australia or Britain or wherever, you may not have that, if you like, that the ear yet for this kind of thing. It does take time to develop your ear for it. It's not only about knowing the words that people are saying, but it's about understanding how tone is used, how function is used, how we use the way that we speak in order to project or to convey different ideas. Now, as I mentioned, this is our last session together, so it's time for tubby bye-byes. Thank you for being with us for this for the pronunciation section. We still have another session this week for grammar and vocabulary. And as always, upgrade if you haven't done so already. And I will be taking questions after we finish now. Okay. Hope you're all very successful in your tests. Keep well.